Overrated and overhyped are two words that get thrown around annoyingly often. Whether you're following anime, movies, games, it's always there and it never really means anything. The idea, right, is that something somewhere reaches an abnormal level of popularity where it's the sole topic of discussion for as long as that thing is relevant. And the people who either don't like that thing or just don't care get tired of hearing it brought up incessantly. And thus, it is dubbed overhyped. In the year of 2013, this phenomenon hit the anime community arguably harder than it ever has before, when the WIT Studio adaptation of Attack on Titan aired on Japanese television. Within the first few episodes of its run, it had already become the topic of all things anime discussion, and slowly over its 25 episodes and beyond, it became a pop culture sensation, something that was being talked about even outside of the anime community. So of course, being treated as baby's first anime, it is easy to look at Attack on Titan and call it mainstream garbage, but I don't think a lot of the community really appreciate what a well-executed and intricately crafted series AOT really is, and like the video title suggests, has been evolving and consistently getting better and better. Today we'll be taking a look at how one of the most popular anime series of all time has slowly shaped its own identity, and how it's evolved season by season from a simple over-the-top thrill ride into something truly special. Admittedly, throughout my first watch-through of season 1, my enjoyment from the show stemmed almost entirely from superficial elements. Stuff like, ooh, look at the flashy animation, or oh wow, I can't believe they killed that character I knew for 2 episodes. And it was because of my superficial attachment to the first season that I never really minded the long wait for its eventual continuation. It was more of a passing interest rather than a property that I was biting at the nails to see a follow-up to. Now, it's for this reason that season 1 is my least favorite of what we've gotten so far in the story. It feels like Isayama cared more about building and fleshing out the world rather than focusing too heavily on character interactions or substantial development. Obvious exceptions to this rule being characters like Jean, Armin, Annie, and Mikasa, who get time to shine and offer a bit of humanity to what would otherwise be a pretty detached main cast. I realize that balancing the foundation of this fantastical setting with a constant progression of characters and their personalities would be very challenging, especially when you're dealing with a world as complex and engrossing as Attack on Titans, but I think a sentiment widely shared by dissenting opinions of the first season was that the characters didn't have a lot going for them, something that would be completely remedied in future seasons. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Season 1 captured many because of the focus on its world and the mysteries it posed throughout the series. I still remember pausing every single episode to read through whatever interesting information was currently disclosable at the time. Moments like that are some of the fondest memories I have with AOT, and it reminds me of just what a great job both the anime and Isayama did at making me want to find out more about this endlessly fascinating universe. Cap excellent world building off with a Hiroyuki Sawano composed soundtrack, a generally all-around incredible production from WIT Studio, and releasing around a time when the zombie craze had already taken over Western media, and it's not hard to understand why Attack on Titan exploded in popularity as much as it did. What's harder to understand is why after such a massively successful first season that it took close to 4 entire years to finally get a season 2. This is something that many have offered their own input on, but to me the simplest answer is also the one that most people already agree on. They were waiting for the manga to get far enough that they had enough to adapt, due to the manga being a less than ideal monthly running series. However, they weren't just waiting for enough to adapt. In fact, only 3 months after season 1 had finished airing did volume 12 of the manga release, the same volume containing the chapters that the eventual season 2 would end on. If that was their game plan, they easily could have started working on the next season immediately. No, what I think WIT and the producers stood to gain from waiting as long as they did was having an excess of chapters to adapt at this current point in time, all for the sake of being able to release season 2, season 3, and potentially even a season 4 back to back to back. Now, whether this was the right choice when it comes to handling its immense success, especially in the West, that is completely up to interpretation, and many have already said that the long wait in between seasons 1 and 2 have killed a lot of the momentum it already had, which is the opposite effect of what I assume they are going for now. Regardless of popularity, however, I can say without question that the long wait had no impact on the quality of Season 2. In fact, the wait in a way almost helped separate the second installment in my mind from the first, and accentuated a lot of the distinctive qualities it has. For as many similarities that it shared with the original season, it had just as many evolutions in both the storytelling and the character writing, to the point where this is when I truly started loving Attack on Titan. It felt like a breath of fresh air seeing all of these previously established characters that did largely nothing in the first season suddenly playing essential roles in the overarching story and having weighty and meaningful growth in both their own lives and the relationships they share with others in the cast. Reinhard, Bertold, Ymir, and Krista all became some of my favorite characters over the 9 or so episodes that Season 2 focused on their arcs. Now, the first season did have moments that elicited responses like this, such as Levi and Petra's dynamic, Armin's determination to protect his friends, or just literally everything they did with Jean's character progression. But in Season 2, it felt less like these empathetic aspects were being used for moments, and more so that they were the entire foundation of the story. There are large expanses of dialogue and visual storytelling here that wouldn't mean anything without actually being able to care about these characters, which is probably why Isayama doubled down on really fleshing them out. All of this is only made better with an episode count that was halved from its original season. I still remember the initial despair when it was announced that Season 2 would only be 12 episodes, but by the end of its run, I personally feel like they could not have made a better choice. This arc in the story feels better being segmented from both Seasons 1 and 3, and despite covering generally the same number of chapters per episode as the first season, the pacing is a lot better and fits in the context of a single core show, probably due to Isayama gaining more experience as a manga writer and just as a storyteller. His growth as a writer is also apparent in how he juggles the emotional aspects of this season with the tension-filled sequences involving the actual Titans, and the perpetual unveilings of huge plot revelations, which are sometimes revealed in outside-the-box manners that, frankly, I haven't seen done in any other series. This constant balancing act that Season 2 performs impressed me to the very end, and helped it establish a more concrete identity beyond just the zombie anime. However, what I was not expecting was that we were in for another big change in both focus and motifs in our transition to this year's Attack on Titan Season 3. Released only a year after Season 2, the producers' long plan paid off as the momentum from their second season carried over into the premiere of Season 3. Our story shifts from being a personal drama surrounded by internal conflicts and loyalty to an all-out political thriller with a much-needed focus on the governmental hierarchy in this world, and raising new mysteries that still work to flesh out the universe even further, but remaining thematically appropriate to the story they're currently telling. It's while watching this season that I've been truly impressed with everything Isayama has built up and how he's paying things off in unexpected but satisfying ways. I've heard that he wanted to use this season in the anime to rectify some of the mistakes he felt he made while writing the manga, and while I couldn't tell you which things have changed, I can say that whatever it is he's doing now is absolutely working. I love the sense of progression I feel when watching this season and looking back at where we came from. We still have all the characters we know and have grown to care about, but they're placed in unique situations that they've never had to deal with before, and we see new sides to their personalities that honestly just make them more interesting. Both Season 2 and Season 3 have done a great job at showing morally gray choices and how everything has consequences. The people we're fighting are just following orders or doing what they believe is right, and even the quote-unquote bad guys have their own reasons for behaving in self-preservative and selfish ways. I know it's been said to death already, but it makes the conflicts within the series far more interesting when you're not even sure who you want to root for. These politically and emotionally ambiguous elements are only enhanced by the story's continuous approach to expanding on characters who have been around for ages and making them more endearing. Many characters like Levi, Erwin, Hanji, Historia, or Armin that I thought I had figured out turned out to be even more compelling than I realized. And this is why, by design, Attack on Titan is set up to continually become more and more engaging. The characters and their stories are constantly progressing, new lights are being shined on the narrative and the world, and overall, it just still sparks that same intrigue and desire to learn more about the mysteries posed since Season 1. In my opinion, Attack on Titan is better than ever, and it's just nice to look back at how far we've come from 2013 and how much farther we have left to go. Thank you all so much for watching. As always, let me know what some of your favorite moments from Attack on Titan have been, and let's just get hyped for wherever they take this story next. If you enjoyed listening to me ramble on about my appreciation for this series, I would also appreciate if you liked the video, and maybe consider subscribing if you want to keep up with my anime content in the future. And for those of you who have been keeping up and have been patiently waiting the past month for my next video, I am so sorry for the long wait, but just know that I love you very much for sticking around regardless, and I am going to do my best to make sure that this never happens again. And of course, if any of you want to keep up with me outside of YouTube, you can talk to me on either Discord or Twitter. I'm on both pretty much all the time. Links will be in the description, and of course, as usual, have a great day.